What if I told you everything you knew about holding a conversation is wrong? What if I told you the secret to conversational success is not from what you say, but what you don't? In this speaker critique of the TED Talk, 10 Ways to Be a Better Conversationalist by Cecily Headley, I'll be explaining how her speech is an excellent example of a successful speech and how it proves that she's a compelling speaker overall. I'll be doing so by going over a couple of the interviewing methods she uses to teach the audience how to become better conversationalists. I will go over her best speaking skills and how those were most effective. And lastly, I'll explain why I chose this video and whether it met my expectations or not. Let's begin by looking at a couple of the methods. Number 1, don't multitask. What I mean here is don't physically multitask and don't mentally multitask. Physically multitasking essentially being on your phone or knitting. Mentally multitasking is being present and there with the person you're having a conversation with. 2, don't be pontificate. Essentially, it means don't come to a conversation with an intentionally pompous or dogmatic attitude. This is because you're more likely to come across as arrogant, and the audience is less likely to listen to you because they will believe that you don't listen to other people's perspectives. Thus, don't state your opinion in a way that you don't give someone else an opportunity to respond. Conversation is an exchange of ideas, not an echo chamber. Next, use open-ended questions. Start with your questions like who, what, when, where, and why. Why is this? Because as the interviewer, if you are too descriptive or too overly complicated with your questions, then the interviewee's answers are going to be too simple. You have to let the interviewee describe the answers and let them do the descriptive details. And the last method, what she said was most important, was to listen. To paraphrase Healy, why don't we listen to each other? Number 1, we'd rather talk. And the second reason, we get distracted because it takes active effort to listen. Now let's move on to the speaker's best speaking skills and why they're most effective. The speaker's best skills were her extensive use of research through quotes, statistics, and stories. Also, her ability to engage the audience. She was able to engage the audience by encouraging active participation through the use of questions and through comedic timing, making the audience laugh and want to listen to her more. To finish this critique, let's go over why I chose the speech and whether it met my expectations. Why I chose this speech? The answer is the topic intrigued me. I myself believe I am a good listener, but a bad to fair conversationalist. I wanted to know if this video was a set of new useful tips or the same recycled tips that I've heard a million times. Now, did it meet my expectations? The answer is it exceeded them. I was expecting it to be those recycled tips I'd already heard, but most of Healy's tips were new or they had expanded on what I'm already learning in communications class. In conclusion, through the course of this critique speech, we went over a few of the 10 ways that she taught the audience to be good conversationalists. We went over what the speaker's best skills were and why they were most effective. And lastly, we ended the critique on whether or not she met my expectations. Nonetheless, throughout my evaluation of Healy, I learned to be a better conversationalist through her teaching interviewing skills. I went over her best speaking skills were her use of educational sources and comedic timing and encouraging audience participation. And I explained why the video intrigued me. All in all, I want to end this speech with a Headley quote from the very speech I'm critiquing. To quote Healy, "I know it takes effort and energy to actually pay attention, but if you can't do that, you're not in a conversation. You're just two people shouting out barely related sentences in the same place." End quote. Thank you.